Well, this is going to be fun today. We're doing a Q&A, a get to know me. If you may remember, I put out a post on my community page a little while ago saying that I'm going to be doing this video and the topic is get to know me. So those questions need to be focused on, you know, anything that you want to know about my career, life, whatever it is, right? So a lot of you did actually leave comments about, you know, problem solving. So certain makeup artists or makeup issues that you had. I haven't forgotten about you guys, but this video is focused on, like I mentioned, the topic. So we'll figure out how we can answer those other questions for you, maybe in a separate video or something along those lines. I did ask you guys to put your name. Some of you haven't. It's totally fine. If you've put your name, I'll give you a shout out. That's all going to be great. I'm excited to get started. So let's get started with this first question. This is from Vicky. Hi, Nina. Hi, Vicky. Love your content. I'd like to know when did you begin your YouTube channel and if you and your husband have any children? Thank you. Okay, so let's get started with the first part of this question, which is when did I begin my YouTube channel? I actually did start this around, I'd say at least a couple of years ago, and I didn't anticipate that it was actually gonna do this well. Genuinely did not. I actually put up a few videos a very, very long time ago. I think probably even like 8-9 years ago, and I didn't really have any idea about what YouTube was, like why you put up videos and how to kind of like optimize it and things like that. So I kind of put a few videos up and then just left it because I do remember actually that was around about the time, it's about probably longer than that, about 10 years ago when I moved to Dubai. And at that point I was kind of trying everything, you know, so I put a few videos up and then I remember I all of a sudden got really busy because I started to become a little bit more established, and then I didn't carry on with the videos because I didn't really know how important YouTube was, didn't really understand it properly. And then yeah, it's been many, many years later that I thought, you know what, I want to restart this again. And my husband and I obviously worked together, so you know, we had a chat about how we're going to do this and like really kind of like answer like questions for you guys, like just problem solve for you guys and make this really educational so that I'm actually giving something back to people. That's when it started, and it's kind of been non-stop ever since. I've had regular videos consistently go out. I've never randomly disappeared on you guys, because I have heard a lot about kind of like stuff like that happening with some YouTubers, you know, like they start and they're really consistent and then all of a sudden they drop off the face of the earth. Try not to do that, because I would be worried if that happens, guys. Yeah, that's when I started, and I've been loving every single minute of it. I absolutely love this part of my career. I couldn't have done this without you guys, so thank you so much. And the next part of the question is if you and your husband have any children. I always find it weird when people ask this question because it's such a kind of thing that's instilled in us, isn't it, from such a long time ago, like, you know, why don't you have children? Like, it's such a weird thing. But anyway, we don't have children. What I will say is that we did at one time fall pregnant. I had a miscarriage. It was very bad. It was pretty bad, and they basically said that to my husband that you are lucky that she's, you know, that she basically survived that. So I remember, I don't remember a lot of the parts of it, but it was bad enough where it did scare me a lot. So yeah, that's a whole nother story, which usually is very difficult for me to talk about. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep it lighthearted here, guys. We're not getting deep in this video. So before we move on to the next question, I've got a quick message for you. If you feel like you're getting value from this video, then please do hit the thumbs up button because it's really going to help my channel out. If you want to see more videos like this, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also that bell button so that you're notified every time a new video drops. I am on all of the social media platforms listed below, and links to these can be found in my description box below, along with some amazing discount codes from some of my favorite beauty brands. Thanks so much for your support. Now let's get back to this video. Next up, we have a question from Janet. Hey Nina, I'm Janet from New York. Love New York. What do you and your husband do to maintain a healthy relationship considering you literally work together? By the way, your makeup videos are my favorites by far. Heart face emoji, heart face emoji, heart face emoji. Where have you heard that, guys? If you know, let me know in the comments box below. Actually, it really annoys me when I watch that on that TV show, but I'm not going to do that through this entire video, don't worry. Okay, so firstly, I love New York, Janet. So that's like my next favorite place. Like I've got like withdrawal symptoms at the moment because I said to my husband, I was like, we haven't been back, and it was last year that we went there. I'm like, we need to go back soon. And we always end up going in the winter time because it's just so nice, you know, like wrapping up and walking the streets and like getting a really nice hot chocolate or something, or peppermint mocha. That's my go-to winter drink. But I would really love to go when it's not summer, but also not so cold. So you might want to let me know when the best time of year is to go. You know, when it's blue sky, a little bit of a chill, but it's all good. So anyway, that wasn't even part of your question. what do you guys do to maintain a healthy relationship considering we work together? Okay, so this is it's not difficult, because I find like a lot of people do say to us sometimes that, oh my God, how do you guys work together? Like, I can't even ever imagine working with my husband. I can't imagine seeing him 24/7. And for me, that sounds really bizarre. So as much as this may seem and feel like sound bizarre to someone else who is married and doesn't work with their husband, to me, it sounds really bizarre not having it even having it any other way. We didn't work with each other immediately as soon as we got married. He did have his own career and he was amazing at it. He was actually like really, he was thriving. He was like, you know, promotion and like doing really, really well. He has a financial background, and I have for the longest time worked for myself. When we did end up getting together and working together, it was a bit of a kind of, is this going to be right? Is this how are we going to like navigate this whole situation? We are both quite strong-headed. You know, that can sometimes mean we butt heads. We're also best friends. So we kind of talk through a lot of stuff, and you know, I'm much more of a talker than what he is. Obviously, I just feel like women generally communicate or want to communicate a bit more, kind of like they're more ready for that. But it wasn't easy to begin with. At the beginning, it was very kind of like, you know, when we'd go into meetings or we had a difference of opinion, it was kind of like very like this. You know, and the way we had to like work through it was, we did have those arguments. We did have those times where we would argue about something, but then we really had to come back down to earth and say, you know what are we arguing about? We're arguing about something so ridiculous. We had to really think about, how much worse could it be? Like, we could be arguing about the most like crazy bad stuff, you know, like one person deceiving the other and things like that, but it was just literally a difference of opinion. So we had to really take a step out and say, realistically, this doesn't require so much head-butting, you know, this doesn't require us to be so annoyed with one another. So let's just learn to respect each other's opinion. We may not always agree with the other person. Let's just learn to accept it and figure out a happy medium so that both of us are happy. And when you know, it took a lot of kind of like sit down talks, and then going back and working again, and then figuring out what we were butting heads on again, and then coming back, sitting down, talking it through, how are we going to actually navigate this? So I think really the way that we've maintained it is to make sure that we address what an issue is, discuss it, and figure out how we can avoid that happening going forward, and then keep doing that. You know, because I feel like the worst thing that you could do is, if you are bickering about something, the worst thing that you could do is not discuss what it is that you're like. You need to identify what the problem is so that you can figure out how you can have a solution to it, or figure out how you can move forward and ensure that that doesn't happen again. And I think because we are both very kind of, I would say he is way more methodical with his thinking than what I probably am. I probably get a bit like mixed up with my emotions sometimes, which is kind of natural. But you know, I am also, I would say, quite logical as well when it comes to like arguments and things like that. So we do have, we kind of address it in a very similar way to maybe we would address anything else in life, like even business wise. Like, if there's an issue, how are we going to solve it? How are we going to make sure this doesn't happen again? So I guess we just kind of made sure that we, like I said, identified the issue, figure out how we can solve it. If we can't solve it, how are we going to reach a happy medium so we can move forward and it doesn't happen again? That's basically it, you know. And we do respect each other a lot. I have a lot of respect for my husband, and I would hope, and I know he does respect me too, you know, how he speaks to me, how he appreciates my opinion and, you know, my advice and things like that. We help each other a lot, as well as the fact that we are in love with one another. We actually do like each other, you know. So I'd say that's how we maintain a healthy relationship. We do also make sure that, you know, we do things which are nothing to do with work, because we own our own businesses. We're kind of like always working, and when you're an entrepreneur, you're kind of like, your mind is always ticking. You're always like what's the next thing, what are we doing next? And it's just natural. But at the same time, sometimes we have to tell each other, okay, listen, babe, let's just chill now. No work talk. Let's just relax. And we do things like we go out on a lot of staycations, we travel a lot together, and not all of that is work-based, you know. For us, we make sure that we do have a healthy amount of time which is non-work related, so that we can kind of connect and come back together again, you know. Moving on to the next question. This is from, maybe Joe? I just don't, maybe it's like longer, but I'm not reading this properly. But Nina, I'm curious how and why you came to relocate to Dubai. Why did you leave us English behind? The first time I came to Dubai was a very, very long time ago. I actually can't remember when. It was way before I even met my husband. But when I came here, there wasn't all the fancy stuff that you're seeing now, you know? There's literally anyone and everyone is here in Dubai now. Like, honestly, it's a bit ridiculous because there's just so many people here now. At that point, there wasn't, you know, all the stuff that kind of like stuff that attracts people today. It was definitely a lot more, I would say, strict when I first came here, and I actually like that. I honestly like that. That's why I actually came here. That's another reason why I moved here. But I fell in love with the country. Felt like this was home for me. Like, this was more of, I don't know what it is. My heart just felt like I belonged here. You know, and it's a really bizarre thing. I was born and brought up in the UK, but I always felt like I was meant to be somewhere else. Never knew where, had no idea, but when I first came here, I just felt at home. And I can't explain that feeling to you because I didn't even know at that point, okay, I want to move to Dubai. It was probably the next couple of trips that I made out here that I was like, every time I'm feeling the same way when I come here. So I kind of knew at that point, because prior to my first Dubai trip, I knew that my home was somewhere, but I just didn't feel like, I felt like it was somewhere else, but I just didn't know where, you know? So eventually I then spoke to my dad and I was like, I really want to kind of do something work related in Dubai. Like, I want to see if there's something I can do out there. And at that point I was already working as a freelance makeup artist in the UK, and he basically then invested in my business and said, you know, what do you want to do? Come to me with basically a business plan. What do I want to do? So I did a lot of research and I found out there was this whole like 5-day exhibition thing going on out here, which had like, it was more for the bridal sector, and it had like all different makeup artists and different vendors from that industry. And I said, I really want to do this. So I went to him, explained what I need, what I would need to purchase to like have my whole setup and everything. And he was like, okay, let's do it then. So I did it. I came out here all on my own, and completely on my own, by the way. My sister was meant to come with me, and for some reason she couldn't make it then last minute, and I was just like, oh my god, how am I going to do this on my own? So anyway, I did it though. So it was a big kind of like accomplishment for me to go to another country which I wasn't really settled in, didn't really know much about still, and I set up this whole stand by myself. Yeah, it went really well. I did get some inquiries, but another thing that I clearly didn't think through at that point was I'm going to need to be based in Dubai in order to take on those inquiries, and that was a struggle. So I knew that I had the audience out here, like I had the market out here, like I knew that there was a demand for what I was doing out here, but I just wasn't out here in order to kind of have my services available to clients out here. So that was annoying because that's such a basic thing that I should have thought through, and it was so many years ago. Anyway, a bit later on, I met my husband, and I was like, you know, I really would like to eventually move to another country, and he was all for it as well, but we just didn't know where. He hadn't been to Dubai. The only time he had ever come to Dubai before was just on a stop-off flight, which he didn't really check the place out. So when it came to actually getting married, we were originally going to get married in Goa, and then it turned out that it was monsoon season, so I was like, how about Dubai? And he was like, okay, fine, let's do it. So it was August. August is the hottest time of the year over here. I don't even know what I was thinking. I was like, let's just do it, right? So we had a beach wedding outside and everything. It was so cool. I don't even know how any of the guests survived. It was a very small, intimate wedding. After he came here on that trip, he fell in love with it the same way I was in love with it. And I was like, this is going perfectly. And after that, me and him just kept coming back here every couple of months, literally every couple of months. Like sometimes it was like every month for a couple of months. It was just crazy. We kept coming back here, and he fell in love with it too. And I was like, okay, how about we move out here? And he was like, okay, let's give it a go. And we did it, and we've never looked back since. So that's how we've ended up out here. So hopefully that answers your question. Moving on to the next one, and this is Star. What a beautiful name. Hi Nina, I am Star from New York City. How are you? I am good, thank you, Star, and I absolutely love your name. That is so nice. How amazing to be called Star. I don't know anyone. I've not even heard that as a name, but I love it. So I hope you are doing really, really well, and I'm sending you loads of love, Star. Tyler from Texas. Texas, I want to go there too. I'm a new makeup artist and currently getting trained for it. I'm anxious about building my pro kit. What advice would you give about building your kit for a professional makeup artist? And I noticed a couple of other people had commented on your question saying that they felt the same thing. They feel like anxiety about building your kit. And I actually totally understand where that comes from, because as a makeup artist, I would say, I'll be honest, I don't suffer from a lot of anxiety or anything like that. But if I think back to a time when we didn't call it anxiety, you know, there wasn't this whole thing, like in terms of like people weren't talking about it as much, I would say that's probably what I had, because I used to have this like anxious feeling about my kit, not knowing if I've got everything I need. And it is the most awful feeling, because when you are working as a makeup artist, when you have several clients a day, or you know, you maybe just work on the weekends or whatever it is, it can be quite a horrible feeling, just having like just that horrible like niggly feeling that, okay, have I got everything I need? What if I've forgotten something, or what if I don't have something that the client asks for? So it can be really difficult. So I fully get that, guys. You are not alone. It is normal to feel that way, but also don't let that overcome you. You have to start becoming a little bit more confident with what you do have in your kit. So rather than thinking about, okay, have I got everything that I need? You need to feel confident about what you have. Now, the biggest piece of advice that I could give you is you've got to have key basics in your kit, right? So you want to make sure that you have a good variety of skincare. Try and find skincare that you can use more or less on any kind of skin type. Get a moisturizer which isn't targeted to just oily skin, just dry skin, just combination skin. Get something that you feel that you could use on any kind of skin type. And if that isn't the case, then make sure you get one like lotion, something very light, which is a good kind of not so heavy based moisturizer for people with maybe oily skin, and a normal moisturizer which works well for kind of combination or dry skin. So you want to try and compact your kit. You want to figure out what it is that you have to have. So I have a list which I have basically printed out, and it's been on the inside of my cupboard where I keep most of my kit for years. And basically what that list is, it ensures that every time I pack my kit, I make sure I have everything in my kit, so that I know I have whatever I need in there. Now, when it comes to building your kit, it is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger over time. It isn't, you know, my kit when it first started was honestly nothing in comparison to what it is now. Now there's just so much. Now there's a whole room full, like drawers full of products, and all of that has kind of like happened over the years, and you'll find that that naturally will happen. But initially, to start, you want to make sure you have good moisturizers, like maybe you want to have just a serum just in case you need something which maybe gives a boost of extra hydration. That's usually the only kind of serum I would say you would need, because you don't want anything which is kind of like treating the skin, you know. You don't want anything like an exfoliant, because you don't want to be using that stuff underneath makeup, right? Not when you're just doing that one look on that person, especially as they haven't probably used that product. So something that is soothing as well to the skin. Now, I would also make sure that you keep some eye creams. You want to make sure that you have your primers in there, like even 1 or 2 primers. You want to make sure you have a good variety of foundations. Now, when it comes to having the right colors of foundations and concealers, you're not always going to be able to carry around every color, like every shade of foundation. And that can be difficult when maybe you don't know what skin tone the client has. I was in this situation many times where I just didn't know, because maybe I haven't seen them before, or maybe they didn't have a trial. You have to be prepared for these things. So what I would highly recommend is you have a few foundations, you have a few concealers as well, but you also keep a couple of palettes in your kit. And when I say palettes, I mean face palettes. So something that you can use as a concealer stroke foundation, which has a variety of different kind of shades in there, which is easy for you to mix. Mixing is your best friend as a makeup artist. You've got to make sure that you are comfortable with mixing products. And what I would highly recommend is just get clear out a desk or something, get all of your foundations and concealers that you're going to keep in your kit, and start mixing. Start practicing that way, like start mixing shades together. Feel comfortable with the amount of darkness that you need to mix in with the amount of lightness. Feel comfortable with mixing products, because as soon as you're working on that client and you already have that confidence when it comes to mixing, it's gonna be like second nature to you. It's gonna be so easy for you, because that way when you apply your foundation and you're kind of like looking, maybe, I don't know where you would apply it, maybe on a palette, on the back of your hand, wherever you apply it, and you're looking at a skin and you're like, okay, this needs to be a little bit darker or lighter. You know what kind of shade you need to go in, because you've got so much practice when it comes to mixing. So mixing is something I would highly recommend to take some time out when you're not working, like not working on clients, and just get yourself comfortable with colors, with shades, understanding how they work, understanding what kind of dark shades you need, what kind of like warm shades, cool shades you need. So just get used to it. There isn't a kind of step-by-step instruction on how to mix. So don't think to yourself, oh, how am I going to do that? It honestly is down to experience, and you can create that experience by sitting down and spending a couple of hours or maybe an hour once a week just mixing shades. You will become so used to it. You might not be able to put your figure out how you name that product, but visually you will know. And that's where you want to get to, where you are so comfortable that even if you don't have the right foundation, you know you've got a palette there which you can mix certain shades together to create the perfect shade. Because you're sometimes going to be in a position where you don't have the right shades and you need to feel comfortable enough to be able to mix products together. I would highly recommend having two palettes, one being more of a opaque finish palette, and I would suggest Kryolan for that, because that gives you that kind of, I would say, that opaqueness that you need for products to sit well on the skin, which isn't overly creamy. But at the same time, I'd go for something like a MAC palette maybe, or a Makeup Forever face palette, which is a bit more creamy. So you've got a lot like a lighter finish texture and a kind of like slightly heavier finish texture, and you can even mix the two together as well. As well as that, I would say have a kind of like, you want a good selection of nudes in terms of eye pencils, eye colors, and pinks, and kind of like different finishes as well, like, you know, sheens, metallics, and things like that. I would highly recommend getting an empty palette and just basically depanning some of your eyeshadow palettes and putting in a range of colors. And if you can figure out what the client wants ahead of time, even better. But if you don't, you always have to be prepared anyway, by the way, guys, because sometimes clients say, I want this, and then you get there on the day and they're like, actually, I decided this, and you're like literally having a panic attack. So it really is a case of like, it's over time you're going to figure it out. Figure out how you can make your kit a lot more easier for you to access, like a bit easier for you guys to actually say, you know what, okay, I've got all these products, how can I condense it all now? Like, I got an empty palette from, I think it was Guru Makeup Emporium, and I got an empty small palette, and I basically mixed my own shades of lipsticks together and put them in. That's how I use my lipsticks now, you know, if I'm ever working on a client. It's very different now. I don't do as many clients. I have very bespoke clients now, so I kind of like know what they want, because I have those set loyal clients now that, you know, I know what kind of makeup or colors that they like. But, you know, you don't want to be taking around 100 lipsticks with you, you know, 30 lip liners with you, or 20 foundation shades. You've got to figure out a way that you can condense your kit, because honestly, the worst thing I used to hate is carrying so many bags. I used to hate it. Okay, so next question, and I'm not too sure who this is from, but it says, please share your skincare routine. Your skin looks flawless. Thank you so much. I feel like you always notice things about yourself that other people don't notice. So my skincare routine in the morning is I wash my face with my facial cleanser, which is my Kiehl's Blue Herbal face wash. I've used this for years and I absolutely love it because it really does help with any kind of like breakouts. I think my skin would be even better if I wasn't a makeup artist, because I put a lot of makeup on because I'm filming all the time, right? So sometimes it can play havoc on my skin. So I feel like that's the only reason I kind of break out, or if the odd time, you know, it's time of the month and I get kind of like a bit of a breakout. But that really helps to kind of like just kill any kind of like bacteria on my skin. So I use that in the morning, and then I apply my peptide glazing fluid. I then move on to my eye cream, which is my Drunk Elephant C Tango multivitamin eye cream, and then I apply my Rhode Barrier Restore cream. I'm absolutely loving the Rhode skincare range. I love it. So sometimes if I'm filming, because I don't want to waste this, I use my other moisturizer, which is my IT Cosmetics Confidence in a Cream, which is a great general moisturizer. It's actually pretty good. So I use that sometimes if I'm like, you know, filming constantly through the day and I just don't want to waste the moisturizer that I usually keep on all day. I then carry on with my primer and everything, and then, you know, that's it. The odd time here and there during the week, I'll mix in a bit of niacinamide as a treatment instead of my peptide glazing fluid, which usually is my Fenty Beauty niacinamide product, which I can't remember what it's called, but I put it on the screen. In the evening, I usually remove my makeup with a face wipe wipe and then kind of carry on with my cleansing process. Now, the only reason I use a face wipe is just to take the obvious stuff off, because I hate that feeling of washing makeup and it's all just, you're just rubbing it into your skin. I hate that. So I remove all the extra bits. I don't rub my face with it or anything, just all the obvious bits. And then I wash my face with my Kiehl's face wash. I then use my Lancer retinol product, and I use that probably 3-4 times a week. And then I leave that on for about 20 minutes before I then apply my Omorovicea, I think that's how you say it, night cream, which I'm loving. And that's really good for like combination to dry skin. And I do feel like that works well when I apply it over my retinol. I use my Sturm eye serum and eye cream because that works better for the evening for me. I'm just kind of like seeing how that goes with that product, and I'm actually quite liking it, to be honest. It doesn't work well for during the day under makeup, but for evening time it's great. And that's my nighttime routine. So yeah, that's that. Next question is, have you been bullied? There's quite a few questions in this comment. Have you been bullied? What is your favorite feel-good activity? What's your guilty pleasure? How did you know your husband was the one? Much love from Sweden. Okay, have you been bullied? Yes, I have. When I was at school, I was bullied a lot. So I used to live in South London. I grew up in South London, and being there, it was a lot more multicultural. I was surrounded by, you know, a good mix of different ethnicities, cultures, and I absolutely loved it. And I feel like I was a bit more out of my shell, like a bit more confident when I was that age. And I think when I was like a teenager, we then moved more towards the countryside, so much further out of London. That's when I was bullied, because all of a sudden I was in this school with literally, I think I was the only brown skin person. There's me and probably 1 or 2 other people at the most. All of a sudden it was just a shock, and it was more of a shock because of the way that I was treated. So it wasn't like, whoa, it's not like I was shocked because I was like, there's no, you know, other people who are kind of dark skinned. It was more so, well, that was a bit of a shock, but at the same time, it was more so to do with how I was treated. So I feel like that's when I really first experienced bullying, where I was called a lot of names, and there were times, honestly, where I was completely on my own on lunch breaks. It makes me feel really sad, because it makes me feel sad that, you know, there are other people that went through that. It's not a nice feeling, and have obviously never liked bullies because I've experienced it myself, and I just feel like it's a lot to do with how you're brought up, and it's about what you see in your own household as well. I did experience bullying. It was horrible, and there were many times that I didn't want to go to school. I hated school. So yeah, that was my experience when I was at school. I was so happy when I left school. That's my experience of bullying, but at the same time, it's made me, you know, it's a part of my life that has made me who I am today, and I'm very thankful for who I am today, you know. I'm kind of glad that I did go through that, because it's helped me to appreciate the good in people and to also witness the bad in people, and it's definitely helped me to kind of figure out who I want to be. That is a good person. So yeah. So next, what is your favorite feel-good activity? My favorite feel-good activity is, watching movies. I love it. You know why? Because I feel like that's an escape. Not that I feel like I've got something to escape, but it's kind of the only thing that completely empties my mind from anything that is going on in my life. And I'm talking about, like, you forget about work, you forget about the pressure of work, you forget about projects that you're working on, because otherwise my mind is constantly going and I'm constantly thinking about what I've got to do, you know? And it's not overwhelming in the sense that it frustrates me, but I feel like I'm a very comfortable person. I'm quite comfortable with my life, and I don't like to let things work me up. If anything, I'm probably quite disconnected from a lot of stuff, and I guess that's just the way that I've kind of forced myself to be, to make sure that I don't allow things to really kind of get to me. I try not to stress about things. Yes, I might stress about little stuff, but it's like, you know, it's not going to keep me up at night. you know? So I kind of like watching movies because I just escape into someone else's story and I love it. So yeah, I think that's my feel-good activity. As well as that, something else that I do love doing is going on walks outside. And sometimes I like to listen to music when I'm walking. Sometimes I don't. And if it's a really early morning walk, then I don't like to listen to music because I like just hearing, you know, the birds and nature and everything. And I love going out for walks outside. So I'd say that's another thing that really makes me feel good. What's your guilty pleasure? Okay, ice cream is my guilty pleasure and Whisper bars. Whoa. Ice cream? No, mint choc chip. Ice cream is amazing. If you go to Baskin Robbins, you need to order 1 big scoop of mint choc chip and 1 big scoop of Jamocha. Mix them together, like not mix them, but just eat them in the same tub. And that is so good. And if you really want to take it up a notch, you want to add some chocolate fudge syrup on top, which they do, and some sprinkling of almonds. So good. You're gonna thank me later. You're gonna absolutely love that combination. It's amazing. That's my guilty pleasure. As well as that, Whisper bars. I love a Whisper bar. I'm more of a dark chocolate person, but Whisper bar is the only kind of non-dark chocolate that I like. And I love it when it's been in the fridge for ages and it's really cold chocolate. I love that. How did you know your husband was the one? Oh my God, okay. If, in all honesty, and he's gonna love listening to this, I knew he was the one because several different things. One, he made me laugh so much, even today, even to this day, he makes me laugh so much. And it makes my belly hurt. You know, it's that kind of like laughing. He just makes my eyes water. I laugh so much. So I love that about him. So I knew that he was the one because he makes me laugh so much and the way he treats me. When we first got together, and the reason I'm saying when we first got together and not now, because, you know, I'm not selling you some weird like random fantasy or fairy tale. Things do change when you get married and you become more used to one another. It definitely tapers off a little bit, but it's still there, you know? It's not like non-existent. But he definitely did treat me at the beginning like a queen. And he still does, but he's also not wanting to like, you know, he doesn't put me on a pedestal or anything, you know? He's realistic. He calls me out on my stuff, you know. If I'm ever like, he does call me out. But I want that as well. I don't want to just be treated 24/7 like a queen. Although feel free, babe. You can do that sometimes because sometimes I do still want it. But yeah, he really made me feel like I was his world. And even to this day, I still feel like I'm his world. And I love that because that's what you want in a partner, right? Like, I honestly, sometimes, I'm going to be totally honest. I'm a bit of an overthinker sometimes. So sometimes if I overthink and I'm like, I can't imagine my life and I imagine something bad happening to him, it will put me in tears. It hasn't even happened. And it will put me in tears because I'm like, I can't even imagine my life without him. Like, he's such a part of me that I can't imagine it. Let's not talk about that too much. It upsets me. But anyway, yeah, that's how I knew he was the one. I just knew it. He's the one. Anyway, next one. Hi Nina, Seema from London here. Love your content. So, a couple of questions. What would you do if you weren't a makeup artist? Good question. What do you miss most about London other than family and friends? When I lived in Dubai, I actually missed the UK weather. Lol. Lots of love. Okay, let's go through this step by step. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you love my content. What would you do if you weren't a makeup artist? I would be a baker. I'd be a cook. I love it. I just have this thing about feeding people, but it's got to be my food. If I've made something and I'm so proud of it, I'm like, eat it now. I used to do this when I was at home, before I got married and I was living at home with my family, and they used to get so annoyed sometimes, but they also loved it. I used to bake so much and I was really good at it too. I loved it, and that smell, fresh muffins in the oven and the smell that's everywhere in the kitchen, I love it. So I used to make it and not even ask anyone. I'd make all these different recipes up, different like, you know, flavors. And then I'd just put all these muffins, and I'd always overcook, always too many. And I'd put them on a big plate and just put them in the middle of the kitchen for people to eat. And then I'd go around to everyone, like they'd have to take one. If I went up to someone with a plate of muffins that I've made or whatever I've made, that I'm not giving you an option. I'm saying take it. So they'd have to take one. And sometimes my dad would be like, he says he doesn't have much of a sweet tooth, but he does. And he'd be like, no, not now. And I just like look at him like, I've just made these. Like I'd get really kind of like passionate about it. I'm like, how can you not have one? I just spent so long in the kitchen making this. And then he'd take one and eat it. And he'd be like, yeah, and I'd look at you for feedback. Obviously got to be good feedback, right? So then, yeah, that's what I would do. I tell you what I would love to do, have a little cute little cafe. People can come and work, have really kind of wholesome, just wholesome food. I love it. You want a good lasagna? I'm your girl. You want a good cheesecake? Oh my God, I'm your girl. So yeah, I think that would be it. What do you miss most about London other than friends and family? So you miss the weather. I definitely do not miss the weather. What's that thing called? You know when you suffer from something to do with weather? I swear I had that because every day waking up and opening the curtains and it is grey. Girl, I do not want that. I do not want to see grey every morning. It made me feel depressed. I even painted my whole room yellow once because I was like, this weather is just not working for me, right? I need sunshine. I painted my room yellow. Who does that, right? That's how far I was into the weather affects my mood. That is one. Number two is, like I mentioned on a previous kind of answer that I gave someone, that I felt like my heart was somewhere else. I felt like I was meant to be somewhere else. And the minute I came here, that's when I realized that this is where I'm meant to be. I feel fully at home here. So yeah, I miss my family and friends. And the only other thing other than family in the UK, the only other thing I miss, because I just feel like you can't get it anywhere else, is a good fish and chips, right? I don't even know if it's still like that. I'm talking like back in the day fish and chips, you know, when it was just like £2 for fish and chips. Now it's like 10, 12 pounds, is it, or something like that, someone was telling me. But yeah, good fish and chips, that's one thing I miss. Other than that, honestly, that's it. Hi Nina, I'd love to ask for tips on working in the beauty industry. Love, from Vancouver. Okay, so tips from working in this industry. What I found is you got to be true to who you are. Like, I feel like it's really important to have a style. And when I say a style, I don't mean do the same look on every face. That's something I see quite a lot. Please don't do that. Don't just do the one look and do it on every face, because people pick up on it. I have had so many clients that I've had when they are discussing maybe why they didn't go with a certain makeup artist. I don't like to engage in that conversation too much, because you know, I don't know any other makeup artists in terms of like what their work is like. I don't like to ever say anything negative about any other makeup artist. It's not my thing, but you can't help when a person is telling you things. And when my clients have sometimes said they didn't go for this person because of this, a lot of the time what I hear is it's the same look on every face. Clients will see that. So you've got to make sure that you do have your style, but it doesn't have to be the same look. For example, I know that something about me, which is what a lot of clients have told me over the years, is that they like the blending. They like how it's very seamlessly blended in. So it's kind of a little thing for me, you know, like I know I really focus on the blending side of things and make sure that there are no harsh lines anywhere. Everything is very kind of blended. That's part of my style. There are going to be different things that are your kind of style that doesn't necessarily mean an entire look. So that's one tip I would give you. Another one that I would give you is really focus on what you're doing and don't focus on what other people within your industry are doing. Yes, it is good to sometimes have a look and say, you see, you know, what is someone else doing? What are they up to these days? Just to give you a bit of healthy competition, but not competition to the point where you're doing something yourself because you're trying to overtake someone else. That isn't healthy competition. Healthy competition is when you are looking at what other people are doing and it kind of pushes you to work a bit harder, you know, not to overtake anyone else. You know, your main aim should be, you need to keep your eye on the ball. You need to keep your eye on what you're trying to do and focus on that. Because if you start doing what you're doing because of what other people are doing, you're never going to really succeed at that. I always find that you should be in a position where you are unaware of how you may be perceived by other people. And that was something I very naturally transitioned into, and I realized much later in my career, because I became so consumed with the hard work that I was putting in and doing what I was doing that I didn't even realize that I had progressed in other people's eyes. It was so shocking to me each time I spoke to people when they would decide to tell me how they perceive me. And they'd put me, like, they describe me in a way where I felt like that's really nice. Like, that's really kind of way higher than where I thought I was. I feel like that keeps you humble and that keeps you grounded. And it also keeps you working hard at what you're doing. You know, don't focus too much on where you are and try and focus more on what you're trying to do so that you can get the best possible outcome. Hopefully that makes sense. Hi Nina, just wondered if you've tried the Dyson Air Straight on your hair. That's from Daljit. I have not tried it and I'm really desperate to try it because apparently it's amazing and I really want to try it. So no, I haven't tried it. Super excited about trying it though. I really want to try that soon. Next question is, hi, this is Ubhi from Saudi Arabia. Your channel helped me a lot, so thank you very much. I just wanted to ask, how do you remove your makeup? Hi Ubhi, I haven't been to Saudi yet. Really want to go. It's not far from here at all. So, how do I remove my makeup? I did mention this briefly earlier. I always get a wet wipe and I take off all the extras. Like I really kind of like, you know, soften the mascara on my lashes, take off like the lips, the brows, and then I go and maybe use a makeup oil to remove my makeup and then go in with my face wash and then carry on with my skincare. But I am OCD when it comes to my skincare and removing makeup because obviously I put makeup, there's like a little fluff, actually that's a little hair from Nico. I just heard his name, he's like, she finally finished. No, he's been jumping on my chair waiting for me to actually pick him up. That's how I remove my makeup. I really like to make sure that I've taken everything off thoroughly. This is from Tyler. I think I had a question from you earlier. Hi, Tyler from Texas. My question for you is, what is one of the biggest mistakes people do as a beginner makeup artist and how to avoid it? So I would say there's a couple. The first thing I would say is over editing pictures on Instagram. Now, when I first started, we didn't have Instagram. So, you know, we didn't even have editing apps. I think if you wanted to edit something, you'd have to use Photoshop, and not a lot of people knew, unless they were a professional, how to use it. I would say that is a big thing that I see these days is, I think when you know how to edit, like I can edit professional pictures on Photoshop. I know how to use Lightroom, Photoshop. I'm pretty good at that. But when you know how to do it, you can spot when it's also been done, right? When it hasn't been done well either. And these days there are so many apps on your phones that you can use which completely change a face, and that's one thing that I do see. People editing pictures to the point where it is not actually their work. That is a big mistake, because your clients eventually are going to build up people that you've worked on, and that is going to be word of mouth. If you don't create that same kind of look, it's not a good thing for you. I think you need to be very careful. I don't think there's anything wrong with editing things like the lighting, you know, maybe getting rid of a blemish which is quite big, or, you know, something like that. But when you start changing the makeup and changing the blending, changing the colors, adding lashes with an app, things like that, that is a big no-no. Because to me, you're not a makeup artist then. You're basically a fraud. What you are. You're basically fooling people, and it's not fair, and you're gonna, you know, you're not gonna really, I don't think you're gonna make it to the top. You're not gonna be successful because what you're basing everything on is an app and not your actual skill. So that's one thing. The other thing I would say is, okay, another thing that I think is, I don't know, maybe people don't see this as a mistake and you maybe can't class it as a mistake, but I do see it sometimes and I think that's not, you know, gonna help you with clients, is when I see makeup artists put a lot of memes on their page, on their business page, about clients. You know, like those memes where it's like, oh, like a client's asking so many questions and you're basically slating the client. I just feel like that's a big no-no. Personally, it puts me off. Like if I was a client, it would put me off because I'd be like, I don't really want to go to, I don't want to book this person if they're then going to go away and probably slate me for however I may be, you know? So I'd say that's something else that is a bit of a, more of a pet peeve for me, I'd say. I don't know if it's actually a mistake. It may not be classed as a mistake. Other than that, I would say another mistake is makeup artists who love to put makeup on and they're maybe good at it, but they don't do research into skin types, skin tones, and things like that. It's great if you're artistic, it's great if you are creative and you're good with the brushes and everything, but if you find that you are good like that and you are a makeup artist, then please do your research as well into skin types, into understanding how you can actually look after the client's skin as well and figure out what's gonna last on them, not just kind of putting the makeup on, packing it on, and blending it all in, and that's it. So I'd say that that's also really important. It's important to treat every client a new person, not just the same whole, you don't want to become a robot at it, you know, where it's this, it's basically the same look on every face. That's another big mistake. One look that you do on every single face. Big mistake. That answers that question. This last question is, I would be interested in your experience with Botox, filler, etc. Do you like it? What to look for, etc. Tina from Tennessee. Well, hi Tina from Tennessee. Okay, it's a good question. So you're interested in my experience with Botox and fillers. Okay, so I have had Botox. I get it probably every, I'd say 5 months or so. I love it. I absolutely love Botox. I had Botox last maybe a month ago. So I'd say it's in full effect now and I love it. And what I do is I have it around this area here. So it really helps with kind of like crow's feet and things. And I don't have it so it completely disappears. You can still see them right there. And I also have it on my forehead where I can still move my eyebrows. I think this one has always moved a bit more than the other side, to be honest. Like I've always been able to do that, but never on the other side. But you can't see the lines so obviously. And I have had filler where I've had it in my lips, but I have not had that for a very long time. And I did last month when I went to go and get my Botox, had the tiniest bit put in my lip, tiniest. Before, I feel like I used to get a bit more put in my lips and I didn't like it. Well, I did like it at the time, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have got it done. Over the past year, I think it's been about a year that I've not had any filler in my lips. And this time when I went for Botox, I was so specific. I was like literally the tiniest bit, not even a mil, like much less than that. I think maybe half a mil I put in, but it was, I don't even know if it was half a mil. So it was definitely not a whole mil though. It was a tiny bit that I got put in just to kind of almost smooth out the lines, not so much to plump it up because I don't like that whole duck look. That's my experience. In terms of pain, I would say Botox is not painful at all. Like you could get it with no anesthetic. Like they usually put a cream on to numb the area. I could easily get it done with no anesthetic. Filler hurts. That's like painful, especially if it's that time of the month. Never go and get this done when it's that time of the month because you will feel it. It feels horrible. It just everything hurts during that time of the month. That's my experience with it. I personally love Botox. I will continue getting it done because I love it. And filler is probably once a year for me now. And even then it's the smallest amount. And I have been toying with the idea of getting threads done because I have had that done once before and oh my gosh, that is amazing. I loved it. Had it done a good 3 years ago, I think. And oh my God, it's amazing. It rebuilds the collagen in your skin. So it stimulates collagen production and it kind of, yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's really good at lifting as well. So I think I'm gonna wait a little bit longer and then probably get threads done again because best thing ever. It's amazing. So yeah, that's my experience with filler and Botox, and obviously just slipped in something else that I've got done as well quite a while ago. And yeah, I personally love Botox. So yeah, that's my experience with it. Obviously go to a good clinic, a good dermatologist. I have been going to my doctor, which is Dr. Mansi at the Kaya Skin Clinic for years. Ever since I've been in Dubai actually, and she has been the one that's given me whatever face peels that I've had and stuff like that. She sorted my skin out. Yeah, she's my go-to. So if you're ever in Dubai, go to Kaya Skin Clinic and you're gonna love her. She's amazing. So yeah, that's my experience. This has been quite a long video, but I've enjoyed it. It's been really fun. How have you guys enjoyed it? I really do hope that you have enjoyed this video. If you want to see any more videos like this, let me know and maybe we can pick a certain topic each time we do a Q&A. This one was get to know me a bit. Maybe we can pick something else, like a topic which obviously doesn't require me to physically show you because otherwise it's not really a Q&A, it's a whole tutorial. So just remember that, you know, we need to pick a topic which is fun and about the beauty industry maybe that we can, you know, have a Q&A on. I think this has been really fun. I really do hope you've enjoyed this. Don't forget that there are a whole load of links in my description below. Loads of products which I get discount with, so all the discount codes are below as well. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you thought of this video, and wherever you are in the world, I'm sending you loads of love. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you never miss any of my future videos. Until the next video, take care and I'll see you soon.